Welcome back, everybody. My name's A Predator54, aka Adam, coach of the Machesney Park Slowpokes, and today I bring you my BBR D-League analysis for the D-League division. This season we have 110 points for 9 to 11 Pokemon, 1 Terra Captain. It's a 20% more cost for 1 stab, 1 non-stab Terra, and I was 3rd pick overall out of 8 people. I had originally recorded this, but then Grandmaster D-Ray dropped team slides on us. So, I have my original slides, and then I have theirs, which display stats, abilities, everything else of the Pokemon. So without further ado, I hope you like the slides I made, as well as the BBR ones. But, first pick overall, I chose All Might the Palafin for 21 points. Normally it'd be 17, but hey, 20% more for non-stab Terra Fairy and stab Terra Water is amazing. This thing is an absolute tank. I'm going to switch to its stats right now so I can go off. Its base stat totals are on the screen right now. It's got 100 in HP, 160 in attack, which is 233 attack at level 50, which is absolutely insane. You've got 97 defense, 106 special attack, 87 special defense, and 100 speed, and its ability is 0 to hero. Granted, it's slightly less bulky when it is the baby dolphin and it needs to switch to activate the ability. It is worth it. But this mon gets access to Jet Punch, Close Combat, Wave Crash, Surf, Hydro Pump, Boom Burst, to be able to be special with Throat Spray. Gets access to Draining Kiss, Drain Punch, Ice Punch. Gets access to Fling and Grass Knot. Overall, this mon is an absolute heavy hitter. Granted, it's probably always going to be physical unless special calls for it, but this thing hits so damn hard. And, ooh, I just now noticed, you got the little, Team Pokeballs down here. Hopefully nobody noticed. That's a slight little spoiler, but I did end up doing 9 Pokemon only, which is the minimum. But without further ado, I believe that's all we have for Palafin here. But yeah, at its base 100 speed, it hits 167. Well, that's not bad. This gen a lot of things are like 86 to 96 average, and then you have a few mons that are above 100, and then you have like mons like Talonflame, Espeon, Shinpao, that are all, well, Dragapult, all those mons that are above like 100, 110, 120. But yeah, Palafin being able to Jet Punch, especially if it's in the rain, plus Terra Water Stab, just hits like a nuke. That and Terra Fairy just absolutely hits things. There's whatever Fairy doesn't hit, Palafin has. That's insane. Alright. For round number 2, it came back to me. I decided to get Iron Treads, aka Red Riot. You cannot look at the graphic in the bottom corner and see the treads on his armor and not think of Iron Treads. It literally is treads. But yeah, the reason why I chose Red Riot is because he has the ability to harden himself and be more offensive. That, and he has a never die attitude, and he never gives up. That, and he's very tanky. This, yeah, it's tanky. just not as much in the special attack area. Sorry, special defense area. But with that base 90 HP, that makes up for it. Because you can slap an assault vest on this, and then you can actually tank some hits. This being steel and ground is very offensive with its dual stab. There are a lot of mons weak to ground this gen. There are a lot of things weak to steel. This even gets access to Volt Switch as pivot, which is absolutely amazing. But as far as the rest of its stats, it's got base 112 attack, base 120 defense, base 72 special attack, 70 speed up, and 106 speed. 106 speed hits like, I believe it's 177 or 178ish area, which is not bad for a steel type that is offensive. This gets access to knockoff, stealth rocks, heavy slam, earthquake, body press, iron defense, aka red riot, double my defenses, and then bash into you. I mentioned it's got Volt Switch, so this thing can actually put in work. But yeah, I look forward to using this mod. Quark Drive needs either booster energy or electric terrain to work, so we'll see what this thing can do, because it's got quite a bit of coverage. Mostly physical. Oh, I believe it gets wild charge too, so if I don't want to run Volt Switch, I can just smack you with a wild charge. Okay. That's actually pretty cool. And then for round number 3, I got Skeledurds for 12 points, aka Bakugo, because it's very explosive when its special attack gets going, and then you have Endeavor. You use Torch Song, I just keep burning hotter and getting stronger, aka Endeavor when he flares up. And here are Skeledur's base stats. We have 104 HP, 75 attack, 100 defense, 110 special attack, 75 speed up, and 66 speed. Its standard ability is Blaze, and then it gets Unaware, which ignores stat boosts and stat drops, which is pretty cool. Like, say my opponent's a setup sweeper, this can just come in, sit in front of it, and just spam attacks into it. Say they set up like Spadef, my Torch Song goes right through it, which is absolutely amazing. This mon gets access to Slack Off, Will-O-Wisp, Torch Song, Shadow Ball, Hex, gets access to Earth Power, Disarming Voice, you name it. If it wants to get going, it will. It's got just the right amount of coverage it needs to be incredibly busted if you get a +1 special attack boost. This even gets Flame Charge. Granted, there's probably not going to be a matchup where Flame Charge max speed Skeledurds is going to be needed unless I need to Flame Charge on a switch in, then Torch Song, and then Shadow Ball my way out. But if I'm gonna do that, that mostly be an air balloon set, so I don't eat an earthquake. It was very tempted to make this my Terra Captain, but I opted not to because Palafin just seemed more viable. But yeah, I became a big fan of this mon after watching Jack use it last season in BBR. So hopefully I can do it justice when I go to use it. I normally don't draft fire or ghost types at all, but the fact that I got them both in one mon is kind of nutty. And this thing is actually pretty tanky. Like, you can run it max HP, max special defense, and then just have Torch Song boost your special attack and just be fine, and still get raw damage output, which is insane. You can also do max HP, max defense, and do the same thing. Overall, Skeledurd, Really good Pokemon, worth the point value for round 3. And without further ado, let's get into my slide for us round 4. Grimmsnarl for 11 points. We have Mr. Compress because he uses his ability, because he's a trickster. He can compress an object or part of somebody's body down in the anime, and he's actually killed a few heroes that way. And then he can re-expand it, and he just is there to cause mischief. What is Grimmsnarl there for? To cause mischief. And then we have Momo, whose ability is creation. Anything she has a good understanding of, she can make. AKA, light screen and reflect for Grimmsnarl. And I believe it gets Misty Terrain as well still. And then it can just set all that up. And then we have Nagamasa, whose ability is Extendo Hair. He can grow his hair out and ensnare and attack his enemies with it. He can also use it as a shield for his entire body, which is actually really cool. Here are Grimmsnarl's stats. We've got 95 HP, 120 attack, 65 defense, 95 special attack, which is very decent, 75 SPDF, and 60 speed. Granted, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but with the ability Prankster, it is worth it. Frisk might be usable depending on the matchup if I need to scout my opponent's items, and then Pickpocket if they make contact with me and I don't have an item, I take theirs, which can be very beneficial. As long as it's not a scarf or an assault vest, it'll take it. But if I choice myself, I kind of, yeah. But with the ability Prankster, I can nasty plot, bulk up, I can set light screen, reflect, I can parting shot out, which lowers my opponent's attack and special attack by -1, and then I'm able to switch into an ally in the back. With that being priority, as long as they don't use priority faster than me, I can pivot before them. Lowering damage, and I can switch into a resist. Granted, I have to look out for Brick Break and Defog, removing my screens, but they cannot Psychic Fangs my screens away. But there's also Raging Bull that can shatter my screens, but by then, I'll have other mons in and getting going. Now that we have the 20-minute chess timer and the hour-long battle timer, I can actually run the more bulky status cripple set, like with T-Wave, Parting Shot, like 4 status moves and that's it, and just be annoying to my opponent. Or I could run Trailblaze, boost my own speed, plus bulk up, and then just run both my stabs and see if I can just make a dent. That's a lot of fun. Honestly, preferably, I like offensive Grimmsnarl more than status cripple. So it's going to be matchup, pretty much matchup based, which one I use. But yeah, Grimmsnarl is well worth the value for round 4, and I kind of got it, and I sniped a couple people that wanted it right after me, which I felt bad for, because then they had to settle for like, I think I can't remember what fairy they got instead. But that's it for Grimmsnarl, and here's my slide for round 5. I got Hawlucha for 12 points, aka Hawks, with the ability, the quirk is Feather. He can use his feathers as a weapon, a defensive shield, or an enhancement on his allies. And then we have Tokiyama, aka Dark Shadow. The shadow you see on his body, he can actually eclipse onto himself and become a giant falcon and chase his opponents down. What does Hawlucha have on his arms? Wings. Same thing with Tokiyama in that form. So yeah, that looks kind of fun. I love how this slide turned out because it all looks like they're flying. And then we have the stats for Hawlucha. We have 78 HP, 92 attack, 75 defense, 74 special attack, 63 SPDF, and 118 speed. 118 speed is pretty decent though. I believe that is 189 at level 100. This gets the ability Limber, which means it can't be paralyzed. This is Burden, so if it loses its item, it doubles its speed until it switches out. And I don't believe an inherent boost from the Burden can be cancelled out by Haze because it's not a physical stat buff. It is an inherent doubling. Just like Booster Energy, how you can't baton pass it out. Because it goes away if they switch or if the terrain or sun are gone. If this switches, Unburden's gone. If it still has its item, Unburden doesn't activate. And then we have Mold Breaker. This ignores abilities. Say I wanted a defog at a Goldango, I can. Which is really cool. This gets Taunt as well, which is actually really good. I believe this still gets U-Turn, Defog, Sword Stance, Close Combat, Acrobatics, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch. I wish it got Ice Punch, but it doesn't. It lost Throat Chop this gen, which is kind of really annoying, because it had it in Gen 8. But this being able to come in, like say if my opponent has terrain or if I set Misty terrain with Grimmsnarl, this can come in. Misty Seat activates, doubling my speed. Even though I'm off the ground, I can technically still be statused. That is the only drawback because I am a flying type. I am not touching the ground, even though I'm standing there. But that triggers the Unburden. Gives me a SPDF boost, allowing me to live a hit to get a Sword Stance off. Well, now I've got a base 110 Acrobatics with no item at +2, plus stab, mowing into things. It hits opposing flying types super hard. It'll drop just about anything that's not a steel or a rock type. But you have close combat for that. Okay. You have, and I believe for mons like Gold Dango that, well, because it has Ghost and Steel, CC can't hit it. Having Fire Punch is still very beneficial. And even though this thing's not the bulkiest thing in the world, you can still modify the HP, defense, and SPDF at the sacrifice of speed because you run on Burden, and you're actually able to tank hits. This is like one of the better hits answers last gen as far as fighting and flying goes for Wicked Blow from Urshifu. Because it wouldn't even do 50% if you did max HP, max defense, and you're able to kill it back with Brave Bird. That was kind of cool last gen. But overall, Hawlucha is a really good mon. I love using this thing. Granted, it kind of gets redundant if your opponent hyper preps for it. You can't get the stats you need off, but you can get that on Burden off and just use your raw attack stat to try and break an already crippled team, because there's not a guarantee you get the Sword Stance off or a bulk up, so you just have to take what you got. But that's Hawlucha. Round 6 I ended up taking Arboliva, and this is Ibara Shoizaki from Class 1B. She is able to make shields, snare traps, heal people with her hair, which is actually vines. And when she actually is defending herself, she will actually make a dome above her head, raising her arms, holding her hair. What does our believer do when it's stationary? It makes a halo. So it reminds me so much of this character, and with how caring she is. But our believer stats, we have 78 HP, 69 attack, giggity, 90 defense, 125 special attack, 109 SPDF, and we have 39 speed. This is incredibly slow. Okay. Yeah, I at least need one Trickromancer. Well, yeah, I don't really like Trick Room so far on this team. But hey, I'll make do. You gotta get it off first. But we have a new ability in this gen called Siege Sower. This sets grassy terrain whenever I'm hit. What do I have? Halucha. How many mons so far do I have weak to ground? And I want to have the damage of Bulldoze and Earthquake. I have Skeletors and Iron Treads. Do I want Turnly healing from the grassy terrain? Yeah. That's going to be very beneficial. Say if I ever want to do the special Grass Knot set for Palafin, well, now I'm grassy terrain boosted, which is insane. This boosts Solar Beam for the Power of Skeletor set. This boosts Grimmsnarl's Trailblaze, which is also actually really cool. Yeah, being able to have the Earthquake damage is so beneficial. Granted, it makes grass type moves hit harder, but that's worth it. Because I have 1, 2, 3 immediate resists to grass and 1 neutral because of Steel Ground. That's actually pretty good. This also gets Harvest for when it's in the sun. Granted, I'm not running sun at all unless I absolutely have to. But yeah, if I want to make it never dying, I'd run Harvest and Sun, and then it just sits there walling you. But this thing is a fat SPDF tank. Also, it's very bulky defensive-wise as well. It can chew a hit. You can run a Choppleberry to catch your opponent. It's fighting type, and then Dazzling Gleam back. Now it's gone. And it also sets the terrain as well. Gives you a little bit of healing at the end of the turn. This gets access to Hyper Voice, Terrain Pulse, Dazzling Gleam, Earth Power, which is actually really cool. This gets access to Strength Sap, Weather Ball, Leech Seed, Giga Drain, Leaf Storm, Energy Ball. Yeah, this being normal grass, if you're not a ghost type or a rock type, this just, you're either immune or you resist, or I believe steel as well. Hyper Voice is going to chunk you. This sits in front of most dragons because it's SPDF stat and is able to Dazzling Gleam back and just chunk. And if I'm able to strength stat my opponent, especially if they're a physical attacker, if I am incredibly low, I can lower their attack by 1 and fully heal myself. That is absolutely bonkers. So this itself can be a mini breaker, even though it's just going to sponge hits, steal back, heal back the damage, and then pivot when it needs to. Because like I said, I'm going to need the grassy terrain at least 1 turn for Halucha's on Burden. But yeah, I look forward to using this mon. A few people called this doo-doo butter during draft and said Indeedee was even worse, and Pincursion wasn't worth it either. So I went Arbolivo because I believe in having fun. And for my round 7 slide, I have Todoroki the Excalibur for 14 points. Why Todoroki? Because embracing the use of fire made him stronger as a person. What does Thermal Exchange do for Excalibur? Makes him stronger if he's hit with a fire move. Which, it's kind of fitting, because we got fire and ice. This thing gets stronger when fire and ice. And here's where the stats get very interesting. We've got 115 HP. We've got 145 attack. We've got 92 defense, 75 special attack, 86 pedef, and 87 speed. 87 speed is about 155. It's either 155 or 157, which is not bad considering base 100 is 167. Actually, no, it's 151, I believe. But that's not bad, because after a Dragon Dance, this thing's heading like a truck. Thermal Exchange, you can't be burned if fire type move hits you, gives you +1 attack for free. This is neutral to fire though, which is the only downside. It's also neutral to ice. This also gets Ice Body for when in the snow. Turnly Healing. But I have Turnly Healing with Arbolivo. This thing gets access to Icicle Spear, Ice Crash, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Freeze Dry, which actually is pretty cool because then it's able to hit bulky water types even though it's got this special attack stat. It's got Draco, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Tail, Swords Dance, gets access to Ice Shard, which can pick off my opponents. That is actually really good. Like, say I get one Dragon Dance off, but I know they have priority as well. I can click Ice Shard, pick them off before they pick me off. Especially if it's Sucker Punch. With Sucker Punch, the faster priority goes first, and then Sucker Punch will fail, which is good. And then this gets access to Glaive Rush. What it is a base 120 Dragon type move at the cost of taking double damage the next turn. Say I Glaive Rush into something and it lives. When it hits me in return fire, I take double damage. So technically, like, say I resist Volt Switch, well, now it's neutral. Pretty much. So that's going to be interesting to deal with, but if I'm already set up with a Dragon Dance or a Swords Dance and I'm faster than everything in front of me, I can just Glaive Rush my way out, and then pray they don't have priority to hit me to take advantage of that double hit damage still. Granted, this being Ice and Dragon, it's weak to Dragon, Fairy, Steel, Rock, and Fighting. Yeah, that's a lot of weaknesses, but this thing hits so hard that it's not going to care about any of those. It even gets Earthquake, Iron Head, and I believe Zen Headbutt as well, which is really cool. Fighting type in front of me, I don't care. Bonk. But yeah, that's Excalibur, aka Todoroki. And for my slide 8, I did Ochaka Uraraka. I struggle with that name because I have a slight lisp. But, aka Gravity, for her ability. What does Espeon do when it hits things with Psychic? They're floating in the air. What does Ochako do when she touches stuff? They float in the air. It seemed only fitting that this be Espeon's name. But for 6 points, well worth it. For Magic Bounce and a really fast special attacker, decent. We have 65 HP, 65 attack, 60 defense, 130 special attack, base 95 SPDF, and 110 speed. 110 speed hits 182, which is the same speed as Gengar, so that would end up being a speed tie. But this gets access to Synchronize and gets access to Magic Bounce. Status moves that are sent towards my team get bounced back. That includes Rocks, Spikes, Sticky Webs, Toxic Spikes, T-Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt. Whirlwind bounces back. So say you deal with a Tinglu or something with Roar, I believe Arcanine, it would bounce Arcanine and Tinglu out instead of this mod. So it'll just sit there, which is really cool. But yeah, for 130 special attack, it gets moves like Grass Knot, Size Shock, Shadow Ball, Hyper Voice, Power Gem, which I just learned, which is really weird because I didn't know it had that. Shadow Ball, Psychic, Future Sight. Yeah, it's really cool. I believe it gets Sunny Day, Light Screen Reflect, and I believe Rain Dance as well. So if I need a fast thing to set Rain for Palafin to just be a nuke, here you go. Here's an Espeon. You want to throw those hazards and throw some shade? Hey, Espeon switching. You can have those. And if you're going to want to have your Defogger and Rapid Spinner. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble if I just give them right back to you. Granted, Espeon's not going to come to every single matchup because it's frail as Dookie Butter and defenses, except for the SPDF. But hey, if it gets some damage off, gets some kills, and does its job, it's on the right team. And then we have my slide 9. We have Toxtricity. The hero inspiring this is Perfect Mike. We have Koyaka Jiro. And we have Denki Kaminari. We have Charge Bolt, which is electrification on Denki. We have sound-based vibration attacks using her heartbeat after she plugs into stuff from Jiro. And Perfect Present Mike just screams. And then Toxicity has 75 HP, 98 attack, 70 defense, 114 special attack, and then we have 70 SPDF, and then we have 75 speed, which is 139, which isn't bad. This gets Punk Rock plus and Technician. Punk Rock is 50% boost to sound-based moves, so this gets Boom Burst, Overdrive, Snarl, which is really cool because Snarl gives it a way to hit ghost types that want to switch in and lower their special attack. Overdrive just hits things that are not a ground type. And yeah. And then Boom Burst hits everything that is not a ghost type super hard. Unless it is steel or rock, it's not going to resist it or be immune to it. But what's good about Toxicity is it also gets Shift Gear to take advantage of that base 98 attack. Or you can double your speed, get +1 attack, and then you can run a really fast offensive Boom Burst that your opponent can't have a check for. Say they have a fast speedy attacker, well this outspeeds Scarfs now. Boom Burst, gone. Overdrive, gone. This even gets stored power, which is interesting. I almost guarantee that I will never, ever get 2 shift gears off to base 120 and get a stored power off. Nope. Will I try it? Yes, because yeah, I like having fun. But yeah, Toxicity, I love this mod. I believe in a few leagues I have like one league I have 12 kills out of 6 games. I had 2 forfeits. And then I had it in a VGC league. It had about 14. Not bad. So it's a mod I know how to use and I have a lot of experience with. Granted, it's times 4 weak to ground. That's why I have Arboliva. That's why I have somewhat switch-ins. But I'm just here for fun. But with that being said to everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you like the slides I made and the slides that they made. But without further ado, like and subscribe. And from the words of My Hero Academia, go beyond plus ultra. You guys have a good night. Later.